I worked at Sotheby's in the mid 80s up until the early 90s. It was a really exciting time to be there. It was when Sotheby's was transitioning from sort of a more toned down, very low key, very conservative art appraisal business to being more in the art market and more involved and more out there and exciting. I ultimately ended up as an appraiser and an expert in the Impressionist and modern paintings and sculpture department, which is where I always wanted to be. I originally got a job there, like most people do, just to get a job, just to get a foot in the door, and that was as an executive assistant to the Jewelry and Precious Objects division. And then my expertise and knowledge and background was more in art and paintings and sculpture, and actually my really strong interest was in all of that, so eventually I did end up in that department. Sotheby's was an amazing training ground. I mean, it was like working in a museum that was changing an exhibit every week. We had exhibitions set up every single week that I would walk through every morning, and they were on all different departments and different things, and every one of them had their own interesting items or objects. I mean, it ranged from furniture, paintings, silver, porcelain. I mean, the list goes on. Duck decoys. I mean, you can't imagine. It was such an incredible place to be, to train your eye and to see things of quality and to start learning what was good and why it was good. I mean, we had all the experts right there, appraising everything, describing everything. They were all my friends. I mean, really renowned experts now who have their own galleries and their own businesses, who at that time we were all just young people who were working there, and there really was so much to learn, and it absolutely affected my eye and my understanding of quality and of art and furniture and everything involved in design. Well, it really was a transition period when I worked there, and one big example of that was when we sold Van Gogh's irises for $52 million, which at that time was 1988, I think, which at that time was just shocking. I mean, the whole world was just absolutely stunned that anyone would pay $52 million for a painting. This was before art was a commodity that was traded and bought and sold. It was considered absolutely crazy. So that was something that was kind of a touchstone for the changes that now are sort of acceptable in today's art market, but back then they were unheard of. I think the biggest highlight of my career at Sotheby's was when they sent me over to Moscow to help work and coordinate the first auction that they had of Russian avant-garde and Soviet contemporary art. That was held in July of 1988, and this was just after Gorbachev and Perestroika, and things were changing in the Soviet Union. It actually was collapsing, and Sotheby's decided to hold their first auction there. So I went over there as the only Russian-speaking employee in the New York office, and I was sent over there to do anything and everything, coordinate things, meet customers, speak with clients, work the auction, work with at the desk, anything that they needed me for, because I could speak the language. It was such an exciting experience. I feel so lucky that I was able to do that. Since then, that really was their first and only auction. Who knows, maybe there will be more, but at that time, that was absolutely the highlight of my career.